Hey guys, welcome back. I wanted to share every single book that I've read in 2026 so far. I'm gonna try not to make this video like 5 hours long. I'm just kidding, it won't be that long. But I guess I just really wanted to talk about all the books that I've read this year because I haven't done a single wrap up. So, as per usual, I set my Goodreads goal to 100 books, and I don't think that I'm gonna actually make it to reading 100 books this year, but I don't really let that hold me back or make me feel bad that I'm not accomplishing goals or anything like that. So far, I've read 34 books this year, and that puts me about 19 books behind schedule. But as I said, I'm just not going to let that bother me. One thing I was wanting to do this year is just really wholly focus on books that I really, really want to read and just kind of taking a step back and figuring out why the last few years I haven't been reading that many good books. I think last year I really felt by the end of the year when I would think back of like, okay, what's that one book I can't stop thinking about? And I really didn't have one. I mean, I think there was a couple that were like my favorites, but it just really felt dismal. So this year, I don't care if all I read is romantasy or romance all year long. If that's what I feel like reading, that's what I'm gonna read. So basically, it's been going incredible, and I've read so many good books. Of course, there are some that were not as great as well, but either way, we're gonna talk about all the books that I have finished this year. These are really in no particular order, except that if they're part of a series, I'm going to talk about them together, not necessarily in order. So I'm going to mention that I actually read Fourth Wing in December of last year. And so at the beginning of this year, I started off with finishing the series with Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. This is a very popular series. This is considered a romantasy, involves dragons. So this follows Violet Sorrengail. She was supposed to enter the scribe quadrant, who generally spend most of their time in quiet libraries. But her mom has ordered her to join up with the army or the dragon riders, with like the military and the dragon riders. She is very small, very frail. She has this like condition where her joints don't really hold tight, and so this is just like really dangerous feat for her. Not to mention, when she goes there, she's warned that Xaden Ryerson is out for blood for her. It wants to kill her. So she's having to navigate life in this military academy, enemies that want to kill her, with not being very strong, not knowing how to fight, and a lot of these kids have been training, just have a lot more skill sets than she does at this point, and it's just really, really tough. This is a romantasy, so you have this amazing love story to go through, which starts out just like, it is so, so good. I will say that I think I liked Fourth Wing the best because we get into Iron Flame and it's a bit of a slow start, but then like the last portion, it leaves you on a huge cliffhanger. And then Onyx Storm, I think that again, it was good. It was good. There was a lot of good stuff in it, but it would be like a lot of boring parts in between as well, which I just didn't find as engaging and fast paced that I was really drawn to in this one. So it would have like some kind of whatever parts, like kind of boring parts, and then it would have a really good information drop, and then like it'd be like boring again. Like that's kind of my experience with it, but I'm really glad that I did finish it. Yeah. The next book I read was Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. I don't know, maybe it just wasn't as engaging to me as her other books because I have touted her as like one of my favorite authors at this point because I've read just about everything she's published. I think she does have a newer book that she's published. Actually, let me click through and see because I think she does have a new one that I absolutely want to read. Oh, it's Kiss, Slay, Replay. I want to read that one. And then she has The Darkest Night, which is actually like a short story collection. She has a story in that, so I would probably read that one. So I've read 7 of 10 books. One of them, The Veil, you can only listen to on Audible, which I don't have Audible. I think it's Audible, or is it? I forget. It's limited to get a copy of that. So Play Nice by Rachel Harrison is about this group of sisters, and they grew up in a haunted house. Goodness, I just feel like there's such a hard way to explain this book. So they essentially grew up in this haunted house with their mom and their dad, but then their parents got a divorce and then the kids got moved out. Well, now they're dealing with their mother passing away and leaving the girls this house that they grew up in. None of the sisters are really interested in it at all. They don't have anything to do with it. They kind of resent their mom pretty heavily because she was kind of considered crazy and kind of left the girls with a lot of resentment and stuff, except for Cleo. Cleo wants to kind of, I think, connect with her mom a little bit, even if it's through this rundown house. And so she takes on the project of like moving in and finishing the house, like fixing it up. And her sisters are just like, oh my gosh, Cleo, just one more project that you're not going to finish and stuff like that. So that just makes her even more determined. This one, I didn't care for this one as much. A lot of it is kind of, it just wasn't as captivating as some of her others, not as funny. So that was kind of a letdown, but okay, so the next two are from the Blood Wing Academy. I read On Wings of Blood, which is the first book, and The Bond That Burns. And there is a third book, but I was actually gifted these books from my husband for Christmas. And so I did want to read them because they were a gift. But I will say I didn't love them. I felt like we're just like mixing two, I don't know what it was. So there's actually a prequel series that goes with this book, and it is The Blood of a Fae. And there's 4 books in that series. So this is like a spin-off series from that series. So I wonder if I wouldn't have enjoyed it a little bit more if I was more familiar with the first series. I'm not really sure. All I know is that when you first start in the book, this girl just drops from the skies into this world. She's taken as prisoner. Apparently they're keeping her for some reason because she's like the last of the dragon riders, but in this world there are no dragons, so she's supposed to fulfill this destiny, and she's like, okay, sure, where are your dragons? So they enlist her into this Bloodwing Academy, and so she starts like assimilating and learning on fighting skills, which she's already pretty well adept at. And then there's a dark and brooding kind of a guardian. He's been appointed to like watch out for her, and so that's like a reluctant being thrown together reluctantly. This is a romantasy, so there's that. And I did, you know what it was? It wasn't so much that I didn't like it. It was just that right from the beginning, our main character is like thrown into this world, and then also like within not even days, I don't even think it's days pass before she's enlisted in this Bloodwing Academy, and she just like, okay, sure, I guess this is my life now. And I'm like, as the character just accepted her fate way too easily. And I don't really want to spoil it too much, but there is a part where they explain like what she was doing in her previous life to just fall out of the sky. And so potentially you could excuse her reaction because of that. But for me, it just kind of felt flat. So I didn't really care for these, and I'm not going to continue on with the series. All right, the next 2 books I read were Everless and Evermore. They're part of a series, or I guess a duology. And this is a series I actually read a long time ago. Well, I read the first one, Everless, a long time ago, and I just remember loving it. It was so interesting because the magic system is based off of blood being life. And so if you're poor and you need to pay for things, you will like go get coins made from your life's blood. It literally takes years off of your life. And then all of these coins go to the rich. And guess what they do? They consume it, and therefore they have those years added onto their life. So our main character is warned to stay away from the castle, but then her father gets into some trouble. And so she decides that she has to go to the castle. So she goes in as like an employee to get close to them. And I don't know, I just loved the concept of that. And it was so good. However, and that was a reread for me because I wanted to read the next book, but I wanted like a refresher, and it had been so long since I read it. So when I read the second book though, Evermore, I did not really like it. It really fell flat for me. I think kind of spoiled it, honestly. I mean, I'm glad I went ahead and finished it because I would have always had like FOMO. Yeah, that was that experience. So All right, so the next one I read is Home by Toni Morrison. Honestly, couldn't tell you a whole lot about this one. I don't remember it. I apparently gave it 3 stars, but again, I can't tell you. After rereading the synopsis, I'll read the synopsis, but it says Frank Money is an angry, self loathing veteran of the Korean War who, after traumatic experiences on the front lines, finds himself back in racist America with more than just physical scars. His home may seem alien to him, but he is shocked out of his crippling apathy by the need to rescue his medically abused younger sister and take her back to the small Georgia town they came from, and that he's hated all his life. As Frank revisits his memories from childhood and the war that have left him questioning his sense of self, he discovers a profound courage he had thought he could never possess again. Yeah, I think I listened to this one on audiobook and I just did not. A lot of times when you're listening to audiobooks that go back and forth through time, because you're not reading the book where the chapter headings are like, okay, now you're going to be changing time frames. I don't know when that switch happens sometimes when I'm just listening. So I think that was my big problem with this book, is that I just didn't comprehend it much because I don't see myself not liking it, but I just don't remember it. So the next one is the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime, and kind of the same situation with Home. I just don't really recall it. I gave it 3 stars. I think I remember vaguely like enjoying it, but I was just kind of like waiting for something to happen. Christopher John Francis Boone knows all the countries of the world and their capitals and every prime number up to 7,057. He relates well to animals but has no understanding of human emotions. He cannot stand to be touched and he detests the color yellow. This improbable story of Christopher's quest to investigate the suspicious death of a neighborhood dog makes for one of the most captivating, unusual, and widely heralded novels in recent years. Okay, I remember that. He goes around just like investigating the death of this dog, and you understand that like he's got like Asperger's or something like that, but like I don't know, it was just okay. It didn't move me. And I know the reason I read that one is because everyone talks about it, like it's so good. So I wanted to read it, and I don't know, I guess I'm just not part of that hype train. The next one I read is The Wicked King, which is the Folk of the Air #2. I read Cruel Prince, I guess, last year, and this was actually Cruel Prince. I was actually giving the Holly Black series, like all of her Fae books, a second chance because I was persuaded by a friend that like, no, you got to keep it up. Like, trust me, it's really good. When I first read them, I wasn't really aware of fairy lore and that like fairies are supposed to be like evil and tricksters and lie and stuff like that. So when I reread Cruel Prince, like I kind of understood. But then I got into Wicked King, and I just like I find the main character just insufferable. I can't stand her. I thought it was Carden that I didn't like, but I don't like the main character, Jude. She's so annoying. Like on one hand she's like, "Oh, I hate them. They took me away from everything I know." And now she wants to be the ruler of the realm. I thought you hated them. I mean, I guess I can kind of understand, like, because you can't, at this point, I guess she can't really go home. But I think she sends her sisters home. So, like, I don't know. It's a little too convoluted. I'm over it. So, yeah, I'm over it. I'm over trying to understand why they are so beloved and why I cannot just get into them. So, the next one I read is Witch Hat Atelier, the first volume of this one. And this is honestly so beautiful. This is a manga series, and this is so beautiful. I really liked the illustrations. They're different than a lot of mangas that I've read, and I really like the story so far. I think it's definitely one of those ones that like's gonna build slower. I'm still interested in continuing on with this series. Okay, and then I finished. I only have 3 of the books. Oh, okay, so there's 4 books, so I must have read the other one the previous year. So I read the Harper Connolly series. This is 4 books. They're like a cozy mystery. Our main character, Harper, and her brother, Tolliver, travel around the country really trying to help people move on because she was struck by lightning and given this ability where she can like sense out where dead bodies are, and then if she like touches them or if she touches them, she can see the last moments that they saw before they died, but it's just what they saw. So some people try to call her in just to like get closure, but she gets kind of caught up in these different mysteries and crimes to solve these crimes. And it's such a good series. I really enjoyed it. I loved Harper and her brother. I will say this, it gave me the ick. It really did give me the ick. But when you first start out the series, like they're solid brother sister. That's it. They're brother and sister. But then they kind of blur some weird lines where I'm just like, so then they start like noticing each other, and then she starts kind of alluding to the fact, well, we're not actually siblings though. We're not actually siblings. So they give down the dynamic of their parents, they're siblings by marriage. So he was older, she was younger. So they just like grew up together because their parents got married. But I guess it just gives me the ick because it's like, okay, so you're not siblings, but like in your head for your whole life, you've considered him a brother. How can you see him as anything else but a brother now? Especially because a lot of people see them as siblings because they go around telling everyone that they're siblings. So that's going to be kind of a shocker when they start telling people other things. Anyways, either way, other than that, this was a really good series, and I really got attached to the characters. And I really liked, so the first couple of books, it's really just about them going to different towns and like solving their crimes. But then there's a subplot that's introduced that kind of unravels their past and their history, and it's really good. All right, the next one I read is Quicksilver. This is actually part of series the Fae and Alchemy series, and I loved this one. I ate it up. Okay, so I'm just going to read the synopsis because me trying to explain it, I'm not going to explain it right. So, do not touch the sword, do not turn the key, do not open the gate. 24-year-old Saris Fane is good at keeping secrets. No one knows about the strange powers she possesses, or the fact that she has been picking pockets and stealing from the Undying Queen's reservoirs for as long as she can remember. In the land of unforgiving desert, there isn't much a girl wouldn't do for a glass of water, but a secret is like a knot. Sooner or later, it's bound to come undone. When Saris comes face to face with death himself, she inadvertently reopens a gateway between realms and is transported to the land of ice and snow. The Fae have always been the stuff of myth, of legend, and nightmares, but it turns out they're real, and Saris has landed right in the middle of centuries-long conflict that might just get her. The first of her kind to tread on frozen mountains, Saris mistakenly binds herself to Kingfisher, a handsome Fae warrior who has secrets and nefarious agendas of his own. He will use her alchemist magic to protect his people, no matter what it costs him, or her. Death has a name. It is Kingfisher of the Gate. His past is murky, his attitude stinks, and he's the only way Saris is going to make it home. So the Quicksilver aspect of this book is actually really, really interesting because I don't want to spoil it. It was really good. It was a really good time. The next two I read are One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. This duology is also called the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig. And this series was so good. I buddy read this with a friend, and it is like so unique, such a unique premise. So the magic system follows a system where they have like these cards. If you like tap the card, it allows you to access that power. She's also plagued with having this like nightmare in her head, but he also protects her and keeps her secrets and offers her some other perks. But the unfortunate thing is, with the more you use the power, the more it takes from you. So there's all these adverse effects to each of the cards given. As I said, I was buddy reading this with a friend, and it is a really good series to buddy read with a friend because the way the story unravels is so cleverly done. I felt like we would go home and read, and then we meet up and we're like, what do you think of this? What are your theories? What cards have they been using? Who has what cards? And you're like trying to like piece it all together as you're going through. It's such a unique system too. Like when you're reading like a vampire story, like you know certain things are going to be 100% true, or they might throw a twist onto it, but you know the foundations are fairly the same across the board. As well as if you're reading like a fairy story, there are some foundations that are going to be absolutely true no matter what fairy book that you read. So this one is such a treat because it's wholly unique. I don't think it's ever been done before. It's not based off any like mythology that exists that I'm aware of. So I thought this was absolutely incredible. Must read. Okay, the next one I read is Matched. This is actually a reread for this book. I just remember really liking it, and I had found this copy. I think it was free. Like, it's a discard book. Oh, it was $1. This book was $1. And then I also found this one to read after it, and I was going to read the whole series, but yeah, the first book, it was still really fun to read. I really enjoyed it. I kind of recalled it a little bit differently, actually, but this is a futuristic dystopian world where the citizens live like this very structured lifestyle, and our main character, she likes to run, but if she like runs too much and her heart rate gets elevated too much, she gets warnings like, oh, you can't run that much. So it's very, very structured. They do tell them how to live, essentially. And then they are also told who to marry. So she joins the pool to be matched with somebody, and this is supposed to be flawless. However, she accidentally gets matched with two people. She was matched with somebody she grew up with, and it was a perfect match. But the secondary match she was matched with is kind of like they're not like, he wasn't even supposed to be in the matching pool because of his history and his reputation. He is like not allowed to join the match group, and because of his class, he's never really allowed to have many accomplishments and stuff like that. Unfortunately, society's rules are not on his side. But now, and she also knew this guy since they grew up, but he was pretty quiet and kind of kept to himself. So ever since this matching, her world gets thrown out of balance because everything just made sense to her until this matching, and now she can't stop thinking about the new kid. She kind of gets thrown together with him, and yeah, it goes from there. The second book is Crossed, and I didn't actually mark this one as read on my thing because I actually ended up DNFing it. I was gonna push through and finish it, but I just was, it would have been a push. It wasn't like I was really enjoying it. I was more going to finish it to just complete it. And I'm like, that's not the vibe this year. We're not doing that to ourselves this year. So I did just go ahead and abandon it and moved on to something else. So I read a huge portion of it though. I think a little over 50% of the way through. But yeah, it kind of fell flat. I really liked the first one though. All right, the next one I read is None of This Is True. And this one I was kind of influenced to read from my friend, because I don't know that I would have read it, but she was like, this is like the most twisted like domestic thriller. So I read it, and it's so twisted. I literally don't even know if I could or should explain it to you. All right, so this is following a woman named Alex and a woman named Josie. So Josie's life appears to be strange and complicated, and although Alex finds her unsettling, she can't quite resist the temptation to keep making the podcast. Okay, that's right. Okay, so Alex runs a podcast. This girl, Josie, wants her to make a podcast of her life. So Alex agrees to making this podcast, but then as she gets to know Josie, Josie's kind of like pushing her way more into her life, and the lines are getting blurred between that like professionalism. Things just get absolutely twisted and crazy. You have to keep in mind the name of the book is called None of This Is True. So this is just absolutely bonkers. I do like domestic thrillers, and this one I would read if you liked it. Okay, the next two I read were Vengeance Road and Retribution Rails. So these are like Western. They follow two different characters. This one follows Kate. Kate's father gets murdered, and her father tells her, like, if something ever happens to me, like, go see this guy. He'll know what to do. So she does. Apparently, he's also dead. So she gets paired up with that guy's son and brother. So the three of them set out on this mission. She's out for revenge. She wants vengeance against her father's murderer, who is the Rose Gang. They are an Old West gang, and they causing all kinds of problems. They are also seeking this treasure. So buried gold. This is like truly a Western. You've got gangs, you've got horseback riding, you got a gold rush, a searching for gold, shootouts. It's super fast paced, super fun, and there's a love story that's like a slow burn love story. It's really, really good. And then Retribution Rails follows different characters. Reese Murphy, who is actually the Rose Kid, who's part of the gang, and a city girl who wants to be a journalist. And then our characters from the first book do make an appearance as well, and so this was a really good treat too. Of the two, I did like this one the best, but that's okay. Okay, the next one I read is Grave Mercy, and this is part of the His Fair Assassin series by Robin Lefevers. I believe I became interested in reading these books because I was told it was going to be like a Twilight. It was going to give you like Twilight vibes. However, I did not get that at all. This is like a French... Escaping from brutality of an arranged marriage, 16-year-old Ismay finds sanctuary at a convent of Saint Martin, where the sisters still serve the gods of old. Here she learns that the god of death himself has blessed her with the dangerous gifts and a violent destiny. If she chooses to stay at the convent, she will be trained as an assassin and serve as a handmaiden to death. To claim her new life, she must be willing to take the lives of others. Ismay's most important assignment takes her straight into the High Court of Brittany, where she must pose as mistress to the darkly mysterious Gabrielle Duval, who has fallen under a cloud of suspicion. Once there, she finds herself woefully underprepared, not only for the deadly games of love and intrigue, but for the impossible choices that she must make. For now, she can deliver death's vengeance upon a target who, against her will, has stolen her heart. It sounds so freaking good, but I just remember feeling so bored. Yeah. Anyways, I do have the rest of the series, so I am going to read the second book. So I guess the second book follows like a different set of characters, but in the same world. So I'm hoping that maybe I can connect with some of the other ones, even if I didn't like this one that much. So there's that. Okay. The next two I read are Crown of Feathers and Heart of Flames. There's also a third book to the series, but unfortunately, I didn't really love the second book. I do remember when I first got these reading Crown of Feathers, and I fell in love with it, and I had that memory of just really loving the series. However, when I reread it, I guess it didn't seem like it was the same book. Some of the things were true, yes, but then some of the other things, I was like, what? I don't remember it playing out like this. And then there's aspects of the story that are so cringe. So cringe. And I think some of it is like the dialogue, some of it is like... I guess I should explain this though. So this follows two sisters. This follows a pair of sisters. Basically, they've lost everything. They're super poor. They're also animages, which means they can speak to animals and kind of get them to do their bidding or whatever. One of the sisters believes in like ultimate control. We're their masters, they're our servants. And the other sister is a more gentler style and believes that they are friends. Now, phoenixes, for the most part, are all but gone. Mostly gone. They might have some somewhere, but they're part of a world where there used to be tons of phoenix riders. And something had happened and they were all kind of like wiped out. A lot of the animages are held prisoner, but there is a group of animages and phoenix riders that are like hidden away in the mountains. They do wind up getting a pair of eggs to hatch, but only one of them hatches and binds to one of the sisters, and this makes the other sister furious. So she does try to get her younger sister to kind of like take charge in that way, but she just can't do it. She can't be mean to the phoenix. So anyways, it carries on. Something happens between the sisters. They have a falling out, and I think that's one of the best parts of the story. There's a really big reveal in the second book that's quite shocking. Really kind of changes the story on its head, but it's actually really good and clever. Alright, the next two books I read are Shield of Sparrows and The Rights of the Starling, and oh my goodness, these books are so good. I was so addicted to Shield of Sparrows. Like, I just sat there and listened to the book instead of like, usually I'll just listen to an audiobook when I'm busy like doing stuff, but I quit doing what I was doing just so I could sit down and just listening to this book. It was so good. How do I even explain this? So we start out with this one kingdom, right? They have two daughters. One of the daughters is the favorite. She's been being trained for everything. She's expected to marry somebody from this other kingdom and go off and live with them. Yeah, she's supposed to go off, marry somebody from this kingdom. She's also supposed to be like a spy. But it turns out something changes when the prince and his guardian come to retrieve the bride, and they don't want the initial sister. They point to our main character, and they're like, the prince points to the main character and says, nope, her, want her. So then she has to go and fulfill her sister's role, and she has no idea what she's doing. She was not trained for this. And I don't really want to give away too much more. That all happens like right from the get, because I went into this really blind and I felt like it was such a treat. So but this is a world that has like monsters in it, and it is also romantasy, so there's a romance in it, but it is so good. And there's a really funny banter, a lot of funny banter going on. It's really, really good. I loved this series. The next one I read is The Apothecary Diaries, Volume 1. Now, I watched the first season, and I loved it so much. I don't have access to watching the second season. I guess you can only watch it if you have Crunchyroll, which we do not have Crunchyroll. Maybe we'll have to consider getting it. I did check out the manga, and yeah, I mean, it's very much exactly like the first episode of the show, but it was just a treat to also read the manga. Then I read, so Apothecary Diaries is amazing show and manga series, and it follows this girl who's kind of snatched off. She's basically kidnapped and then placed into the palace to be a servant. She wants to basically go unnoticed, but there was an incident that happened at the castle, and she was able to figure out a solution, and she kind of like does it on the sly, but she didn't realize that she was noticed by Jinshi, and so he kind of recruits her to help with the ladies' maids. There's an issue going on with them, so she helps them and then gets a new role as the poison taster, and she goes around in every single episode like helping with different issues or crimes or whatever is going on around the castle, which her knowledge in apothecary and poisons helps her solve all these crimes. So it's so good, but it's so funny too. Then I read You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno, and this was not very good. I wanted to read another book by her because she wrote Horrid, which I really loved Horrid, and I know it didn't go over very well with many readers, but I really liked it. This is completely different, and I really didn't like it. Magpie Lewis started writing in her yellow notebook the day her family self-destructed. That was the night Erin, Magpie's sister, skipped town and left her to fend for herself. That was the night of Brandon Phipp's party. Now Maggie is called a slut wherever she walks down the hallways of her high school. Her former best friend won't speak to her, and she spends her lunch period with a group of misfits who've all been socially exiled like she has. And so, feeling trapped and forgotten, Magpie retreats to her notebook, dreaming up a place called Near. Near is perfect, somewhere where her father never cheated, her mother never drank, and Magpie's own life never derailed so suddenly. She imagines Near so completely, so fully, that she writes it into existence, right into her own backyard. It's the place where she can have anything that she wants, even revenge. Yeah, honestly, it was just kind of boring, so nothing to say there. Alright, the next one I read was Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. This is a series. I think there's one or two. I don't know if they're going to keep writing more books. So far there's 2 books, but it looks like they are supposed to have another one published next year. Anyways, I read this one for my book club, my In Real Life book club. I read this one for, and it was so funny and so charming and so infused with like Asian culture. I really loved it. We also have Found Family. Okay, so this follows Vera Wong. She runs a tea shop in San Francisco. She's an older woman. She's also grieving the loss of her husband. And one day she wakes up and there's a dead body in her tea shop. And she, of course, calls the police and everything. She does some pretty outrageous things like tampering with the crime scene. But then she starts doing her own investigation and gathers up all of her suspects and starts getting to know them. kind of throwing them together, sussing them out, and it ends up turning into this really, really sweet and wholesome story. I loved this story. The next one I read was Death at the Door. This is the Ruby and Cordelia Mysteries series, second book by Olivia Black. I read the first one last year, and this is so cute because it's about this young woman who goes and gets an apartment that was really, really cheap. But it come to find out it's haunted. Yeah, it's being haunted by Cordelia. And Cordelia and Ruby have found a way that they can kind of communicate. And they start solving mysteries together. And it's just absolutely great. I love it. All right, then I read Half City by Kate Golden. This was really good. This was a gift by my husband. It has the really cool sprayed edges. This is an urban fantasy story, and it takes place in the city called Half City. This is touted as like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer like book, and I would say absolutely not. It does not Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes at all. So our main character, what is her name again? Viv. So our main character, Viv, actually works in a museum, and then she does like monster demon hunting at night. This guy, who turns out to be a demon, actually recruits her to go to this academy. It's a secret academy, and learn how to be a better hunter. And then she's very, very reluctant. She's like, I don't know about this, but hey, it's going to give me the opportunity to get some answers about her father. So she's like, okay, we'll go. Then she sees this picture on the wall, and then she just keeps like staying longer. But then she ends up really finding that she likes the academy. She makes friends in there. So she ends up staying, of course. But she is very kind of like, she's very independent. She doesn't like being told she can't go on the hunt. She's very pushy, and she'll just do whatever she wants. Because in her mind, she's like, why should I follow the rules? I could just leave. I don't necessarily need to be here. So it kind of makes sense. And then, yeah, I'll be honest though, this was a bit slower paced for sure. It took me quite a while. I did still really like it, but I think I would have liked it more if I wasn't foretold that it was supposed to be like Buffy, because I kept waiting it to feel like Buffy, and it just didn't. So I feel like I would have maybe enjoyed it differently. But I think it's a really good start to the series, and I feel like this is going to be, it's like methodical, you know? So, okay, the next one I read is Alien Echo by Mara Grant, and let me tell you, I did not like this book at all. It's horrible. I gave it like a 1 star. It's just a complete and utter mess. It doesn't follow along with the cover design. I don't feel like the cover design does it justice, or the title does it justice. So we're first following these girls, these twin sisters and their parents. They travel from planet to planet. Her parents are scientists. One of them's like a botanist, the other one is like a biologist, I want to say. And so they go from planet to planet, kind of like researching and studying the planets. So our main character, she goes to school with the other kids, and her sister stays home because her sister's pretty sickly. And then there is something sinister. This is also horror, so something sinister is also going on in the background. But I just felt like somehow we deviated pretty badly. We were hyper focused on this weird dynamic between our main character and this classmate. Our main character has this thing for this girl at school. So here we got the love interest. And then there's this guy character who grew up with the love interest. And every chance he gets, he tries to get like super violent with our main character, like just way over the top every time they're together. And then the rest of the characters are like weird cardboard cutouts. Like, he's getting really nasty and aggressive with our main character, and everyone's just standing around like nobody says anything, nobody interjects. The love interest is supposed to be friends with this person, never tells him, hey, you gotta stop, you know, nothing like that. They literally just do no reaction. That was a really big problem for me. And then towards the second half of the book, another subplot is introduced, but then they never flush it out. So that was that one. The next one I read was Angel Fall. This is the Penryn and the End of Days. First of the Penryn and End of Days series. I really liked this. So this follows angel lore, but a lot of angel books. Now, I'm no expert, but I've read a couple where the angels are like nice and stuff like that, but these angels are ferocious. They're mean. They will just murder you. They think that humans are beneath them, and it gets crazy. So our main character is carting around her mom, who's kind of crazy nutso, and her sister, who's broken in a wheelchair. And this is like a really dystopian world. Like, the world is trashed. The angels have come down, they've trashed the place, destroyed everything. They're killing the humans, eradicating them. One day they're out in the open and there's a big angel fight or whatever, and one of the angels snatches up her little sister from her chair and takes off. Her mom dips. She's on her own. She's worried she's gonna die, and she sees this angel who's broken and bleeding out, and so she goes and like grabs his sword and throws it at the angel who's attacking that angel, and she decides that, like, hey, maybe this guy can help me find my sister. So, oh yeah, and so this angel has been fallen. His wings have been cut by this other angel. So he's kind of like, maybe needs some helping. So she's thinking, okay, if I help him, I heal him, maybe I can offer him to go someplace and get his wings reattached. He can help me find my sister in exchange. So she proposes this whole crazy deal. So he ends up going with it. So as they're traveling along, trying to get to the Eyrie, they run into all different types of trouble, and I don't know, it's a slow build romance too that just starts happening, and then the ending, oh my gosh, it's so morbid and gross and weird. There's a lot of horror elements, I would say, in this, like gory moments in this is so good. I'm definitely continuing on with the series. I don't have them, but I'm gonna get them on ebook. All right, and the very last one we have arrived at, the very last one that I finished is A Dawn of Onyx. I just finished this one. This is the first book in the Sacred Stones series. All right, again, I'm just going to go ahead and read the synopsis here. Arwen never expected to be the brave one, offering her life to save her brothers. Now she's been taken prisoner by the most dangerous kingdom on the continent, and made to use her rare magical abilities to heal the soldiers of the vicious Onyx King. Arwen knows better than to face the ancient wicked woods that surround the castle on her own, which means working with a fellow prisoner might be her only path to freedom. Unfortunately, he's as infuriating as he is cunning, and seems to take twisted pleasure in playing on Arwen's deepest fears. But here in Onyx Kingdom, trust is a luxury that she can't afford. To make it out of enemy territory, she'll have to navigate backstabbing royals, dark magic, dangerous beasts, and untold power lies inside Arwen, dormant and waiting for the spark. If she can harness it, she just might be able to escape with her life and hopefully her heart. So, yeah, I did really enjoy this one. This is also by Kate Golden, who wrote Half City, so interesting. I'll definitely be continuing on with the series. I found it really addictive. I really liked the development and the twists and turns of the love interest. It was really good. So yeah, that is all the books I have read this year so far, and I'm about 60% of the way through another book I'll be adding to this list. So hopefully by the end of this month, August, I'll start doing monthly wrap-ups again. So we'll talk about all the books I just read in July. But I've been talking entirely too much. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.